Howdy folks, and welcome back to the Hillbilly Kitchen. Today we're going to be making a fresh homemade Alfredo sauce. When the girls and I go out shopping together, one of our favorite things to do is stop at an Italian restaurant for lunch. And we almost always order Alfredo with chicken and pasta or something like that. It's almost always Alfredo. And some of the restaurants around here are pretty good and some of them aren't. But eating out in restaurants, as you know, is very expensive. And just a basic pasta dish in an Italian restaurant is around 20 bucks a person. Well, cooking Italian food at home is not exactly cheap if you buy good ingredients, but it's nothing like eating in a restaurant. You can make a whole meal for 4 people for less than $20, probably for less than $10. But the basic ingredients in Alfredo sauce are cream, butter, and Parmesan cheese. Anything else you put in it is just to kind of suit it to your taste, or maybe even to make it more pleasing to your eye. Now, I am using half Parmesan cheese today and half mozzarella cheese. And I'm doing that for 2 reasons. Number one, the mozzarella melts a little creamier and it makes the sauce creamier and it won't be as bad to separate. And number 2, hardened cheeses like Parmesan and aged cheddar and stuff are a migraine trigger. I know there are a lot of people that suffer from migraines. I'm one of them, so I have to be careful. Now, if I dilute the Parmesan with a little mozzarella in this sauce, which like I said makes it creamier anyway, then it doesn't cause the migraine. It's not enough of it to cause the migraine. I also want to do a little garlic in mine. Now I have 1 clove of fresh garlic that I have minced up finely. And I'm going to put that in my pan when I start because I want to make sure that gets really done, because again, raw garlic is like raw onions and it will trigger a migraine if you're a migraine sufferer. And I'm also going to stir in a little fresh parsley here. I won't use all this. You probably don't want to use more than 1/4 of a cup if you use it, because it's just something to add a little color to it. And I'm going to add that when it gets almost done cooking. But one of the keys to making a good Alfredo sauce is that you simmer it long enough that the cream and the butter are blended so it doesn't separate. So let's take this over to the stove and get started. Okay, I'm going to start on medium heat. And like I said, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this garlic. And I'm just going to kind of toast it a little bit to make sure it's done before I even add my butter into the pan. And you do want to add salt and pepper to this to taste, and taste it a few times as you cook it to make sure you're getting it the way you like it. But I'm going to sprinkle a little salt and pepper right on this garlic because it does help bring out the flavor just a little bit. And then I'll add more later when I get my sauce started. If you're not concerned about your garlic being well done, you can go ahead and add your butter and your cream at this point, and it will cook pretty much in your sauce. But because I want to make sure the garlic is well done, I'm toasting it. And while I'm toasting it, I also want to make sure I kind of keep it moving around a little bit. And you can see it's kind of sticking to the bottom of my pan a little bit because I don't have anything else in here with it. But that's okay. When I add the butter and the cream, all that flavor that's on the bottom of the pan will come off and it'll mix in my sauce. Also, if you don't want to take the time to mince garlic or mess with fresh garlic, you can just use a little garlic powder in this. And in all honesty, 9 times out of 10, for the sake of saving time, I would probably use just garlic powder in this instead of fresh garlic, because it does take a lot more time to use fresh garlic. You do get a better flavor. I mean, fresh is always a better flavor, but sometimes we don't have time to do everything fresh. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to add my butter, and I'm using a stick of butter, which is a 1/2 cup, and I'm using 2 cups of cream. I want to melt my butter before I add my cream, and this will also continue to cook that garlic. And you can see now that everything that was stuck to the bottom of the pan has lifted off when I added the butter. The butter just kind of bubbled all that flavor right off, and it smells really good in here right now. I am making some fettuccine pasta to go with this today, and I have some chicken strips that I have just seasoned and browned in a skillet, and I'm going to use those with it. And I'll serve it with a fresh salad. Now this sauce though is good over any pasta. It's good over any kind of chicken. It's good over seafood, steamed vegetables. Okay, that's hot now. And you want to add your cream fast, and you want to stir fast as you add it, because you don't want it to scorch. And this is heavy cream. I haven't tried it with light cream, and I think it would probably be a lot thinner. But if you're really watching calories and cholesterol and stuff, you could do the light cream. Anytime you're making a sauce with milk, you do want to make sure, milk or cream, that you continue to stir it, because it will scorch and it will burn that cream or that milk fast. It's the same as gravy. And I'm going to let this get hot before I add my cheese. And then I'll add my Parmesan, and followed by my mozzarella. You can see some of the little pieces of that toasted garlic floating around in there. That's what those little brown specks are. You know, I am not a Bible prophecy scholar by any stretch of my imagination or anybody else's, but the Bible talks all through it about signs and numbers, and there's some very interesting things that are taking place right now, and I find it hard to believe that they are all coincidence. I think they do mark a change of some sort. What, I don't know. But tonight is the 4th in a series of 4 blood moons, and that is happening at the end of a Jewish Shemitah, which is a 7-year period, and it happens to be a Jubilee Shemitah, which is 7 7-year periods. And during this same time, the Pope has traveled to the United States. And he's making his final speech here, or final address, having his final mass, whatever you call it, tonight in Philadelphia, right before this 4th blood moon. And I think all that is significant, and like I said, I really think that it marks a change of some sort. I'm not sure what that change will be. I know a lot of people are predicting that it will be the start of the tribulation and things like that. I'm not sure about that. But I do think there's some sort of change coming, and I think that it would behoove us as Christians to pay attention and watch for those changes and maybe be ready for them. I mean, God does give us warnings throughout the Bible, and He gives us signs, and like I said, He is particularly fond of numbers, and this visit from the Pope and this blood moon comes in conjunction with a lot of numbers. So that's just something maybe to watch out for. Maybe open your Bibles and study it. See if God will reveal to you what He has in mind. Okay, this is starting to simmer now. So I'm going to add my Parmesan cheese and stir it in and let it melt. And as soon as it melts, then I'm going to add my mozzarella. Okay, that's melted, and it is starting to really get thick now. So you want to make sure you stir it fairly rapidly. You don't want it sticking to the bottom of your pan and burning. One of the great things about cooking at home, something like this, is you can adjust it to suit your taste and your particular dietary needs. Like I said, the garlic, I have to make sure it's very well done. I have to watch the hardened cheeses. The mozzarella, though, I really think adds flavor and it makes it creamier. So I like it in there even if I didn't need to cut the Parmesan down. You can see that it is getting thick. When I rake my whisk through it, it leaves a trail. Like I showed you the trail in the gravy. You're not looking for it to separate it. You just want to see the mark in it. If you pick it up and let it drip, it leaves a mark for just a minute before it fills back in, or a few seconds anyway before it fills back in. That's what you want. And that's what you're looking for. It's really about the same consistency as gravy. And you don't want to go too far with it because it will get thicker when it cools, the same way that gravy does. So I think we're probably going to cut the heat off now because that's about thick enough. And I'm going to put a little salt and pepper in here. If you're doing a low sodium thing too, here's just a tip. If you add your salt after you turn your heat off, it will actually add more flavor to what you're cooking. It'll have a more salty taste. Because as you cook salt, it loses that flavor, that salt flavor. So you won't need to add as much if you add it after it's cooked. Alright, now I said we were going to add just a little bit of this parsley to it, not that much. That's way too much. You're not trying to turn your Alfredo sauce into a salad, and it's mostly just for color anyway. It's entirely optional, and you can put the rest of it in your salad if you want. I think that there's plenty. And whisk that in there. And like I said, it does add a little color. You could even sprinkle it over top of it once you put it together with the chicken and the pasta if you wanted to. But you can see my whisk leaves a trail. It's clearly well combined. It's not trying to separate. I don't have butter congealing on top of it. But you do want to cook it long enough that you don't have any kind of separation going on. If you enjoy going out to Italian restaurants, give this Alfredo sauce a try. It's super easy. You can adjust it to your specific taste. It's great on all kinds of pasta, chicken, seafood, steamed vegetables. I think you'll really enjoy it. And thanks for joining us again in the Hillbilly Kitchen. Before you leave, don't forget to click like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.